If you're able to assess where you stand on your own unique personal mental strength journey, it unlocks so much for everybody, no matter what generation you fall in.
What called you to write a book like Mentally Strong Leader?
Yeah, I think, and you could tell me if this surprises you or not, Dino. I knew I was onto something with the concept of mental strength about halfway through my corporate journey. Just, again, being a student of leadership, watching what truly differentiated the best leaders from the ones who were just leaders in leadership position. One study in particular really helped bring it into kind of concrete focus. And it's a study that I've run multiple times. Let me quickly tell you about the study. And I think you'll quickly understand why I knew I was onto something with mental strength. I asked, interviewed, and/or surveyed a combination of 3,000 different executives around the globe, and I've done this multiple times. And when I do it, because I have to do a lot of research as an interviewer, as a keynoter, as an author, within my teaching position, I have to do a lot of research. So one study I would conduct is I would ask 3,000 executives from around the world a singular question, thinking of the highest achieving organizations that you've ever been a part of, that overcame the most obstacles. What were the attributes of the key leader at that time? And the story gets two levels of incredible. First, every time I run this, every time, Dino, between 90 to 91% of 3,000 plus respondents describe the same profile of a leader, a mentally strong leader that is exhibiting all the mental muscles of mental strength, especially in adversity, right? Fortitude, confidence, boldness, goal focus, decision making, positive messaging. Here's where it gets even more incredible. Then I started, after conducting these studies, I started saying, okay, thank you for describing that person. In my mind, I knew they were describing a mentally strong leader. They might not have necessarily used that term. They were describing the mental muscles that the leader was using in adversity to achieve so much. So I did a follow-up. In studies, I started doing follow-up where I would give everybody in the research a simple sheet with a pick list of things to choose from. Okay, now I want you to boil down how you would describe that leader in one or two words. Here's a pick list. And I'd give them the pick list, and I put on the pick list mentally strong. And I would put it in different places on the paper every time I would give them. That's kind of a research 101 thing to kind of vary out the samples. But 95% to 96% of the time, Dino, every time I run this, people circle the words mentally strong. And it's really started getting, the first time I uncovered this and then I did it again, that was, when I'm probably still 20 years into corporate, I started getting excited that I think maybe we found the term we've been looking for to describe the leader that most excels when we need him or her to excel in times of adversity to achieve. It's not EQ. It's a higher level above that. It's mental strength. I think that's the term we've been looking for. And it's why I believe mental strength is the leadership superpower of our times, and it's going to be the next EQ for the next decade, especially because it's a level above EQ in empowerment. It can be the only thing that could explain, Dino, then I'll stop for a second and make sure it makes sense to you. It can be the only thing that can explain not only why the book, The Mentally Strong Leader, is off to such a hot start, but why a course I teach on LinkedIn Learning about building mental strength habits, there will be over 250,000 people that will take that class by the end of this year.
Wow.
And that's well ahead of the other 30 courses that I teach on LinkedIn Learning. I believe mental strength is the next EQ. I get so excited about it. Let me take a pause and make sure all that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it totally does. And I love that concept. My question that I thought of when you were saying this is, how do I'm 51. I'm in the space of, I still feel like I'm learning so much, and I love learning about stuff like this. I love finding out more. I've actually delved a lot into EQ because I deal with a lot of team members and trying to help them, especially the Gen Zs and Gen Ys, help them actually understand EQ more, because I don't think it's taught anymore.
Yeah.
So how do we help those generations? And I'm not in any way, for those of you listening, trying to put them down. I'm just stating what I think is, and I see it in my own kids. of how do we help them have a desire to be more mentally strong? Because I feel like there's a lot of the world nowadays saying, no, you bend to my weakness instead of
Yeah.
demanding I make you get stronger.
And I think I have an answer you're really going to like to this, Dino, because I thought about this. I thought about what you're talking about a lot, especially with Gen Zers and now we're getting to the alpha generation before you even know it here. And that is this. If you're able to assess where you stand on your own unique personal mental strength journey, it unlocks so much for
Mm.
everybody, no matter what generation you fall in. In the book, The Mentally Strong Leader, it took me almost 3 years to develop, using data science, data scientists, the whole nine, a 50 question questionnaire that statistically and scientifically and from a data perspective validates your closeness to mental strength being a strength or not. You take 50 question questionnaire, it takes you 15 minutes. When you're done, it produces an overall mental strength score. So you can see what tier you fall in, right? All the way from you're a beacon of mental strength, all the way down to you're a novice and you're still learning. And no answer is any better than the other. It just points out where you are in your overall journey, your overall score. And it gives you a score by mental muscle: fortitude, confidence, boldness, goal focus, decision making, your ability to message positively, even in negativity. And so what I'm seeing happen, and I think it's one of the reasons why the book is garnering so much attention, Dino, is because when you can do that, you're able to create your own customized mental strength training program. And that brings in people from all walks of life to want to be interested in starting their own journey, because they're not hearing from some keynote speaker who they suspect speaks the same way to everybody in a canned fashion all the time with the same message, regardless of their background. Not true. You start with the assessment and you figure out where you start, and then you engage in that journey accordingly.
Wow, that's really amazing. With the research around the book, did you find anything that was surprising to you that you might not have really thought about before you started to delve in?
Oh, sure. And it's the nature of any research. I do a ton of research from my books, from my work. I've done things with Indiana University, their School of Executive Education. I mean, so I have to do a lot of research. As a researcher, you're always being surprised, right? You're always putting out hypotheses and confirming or denying, and something will always come out exactly not the way you suspected. But well, one of the things that I didn't expect, was the level to which people underestimate their ability to become mentally stronger.
Oh,
I
interesting.
can't, I can't tell you how many times people would assume mental strength is a fixed asset. Sure, you can learn things in life. The growth mindset is real that Carol
Mhm.
Dweck taught us all.
Sure.
But the assumption I hear from so many people, but dude, we're talking about my emotions, how I act, how I think. That's my wiring, man. That is what it is. And it's not true. The opposite of mentally strong is not mentally weak. We all start with a baseline. If you have the habits in place, you can become mentally stronger over time. And a metaphor that I'll use that always seems to help people that start out with the assumption of, I can't change my mental strength. That is who I am. And it's going to be too hard to do that.
Yeah.
Think about this metaphor. Think about your physical muscles. If you wanted to build your physical muscles, Dino, you'd go into the gym, right? And you wouldn't work on, by the way, every muscle all the time, every day. It'd be a
Mm.
19-hour workout. You'd quit
Sure.
after 2 weeks. You'd be like, this is ridiculous. Wednesday is back day. Thursday
I
is
mean, I
leg day.
know. I mean, obviously, look at me. I know
Yeah, I mean,
exactly
you're
what you're
jacked.
talking about. You
It's
get it.
obvious.
Yes, yeah.
You're the rock of podcasting in many, many ways. It's obvious. But you don't do it right. It's similar with mental strength.
Yeah.
You determine what mental muscles that you have to build up. You don't have to be overwhelmed and try to tackle it all at once. Maybe you have great resilience. Your fortitude muscle is really strong. You just have to maintain it. But your confidence really drops at times, and you want to work on that. Once you know the muscles that you have to level up, it becomes much more doable. So to your question, I'm always surprised by the assumption people make about I can't change my mental strength. It is what it is. That is just not true.
Do you feel like the majority of people, not majority, do you feel like people often let certain muscles atrophy?
Ah, very good question. What we have found in our research is, across the six mental muscles, again, fortitude, confidence, boldness, decision making, goal focus, and messaging. What we what we have found is, while now people don't let one muscle atrophy more than others, we do see more degradations in the confidence muscle than
Hmm.
any other muscle. And
Really?
it probably makes sense, when you think about it, because there's a tool in the book that I talk about in the Mentally Strong Leader, in the Confidence Habit. It's called the Self-Acceptance Scale. And I asked the user to read it and think about self-acceptance, which is a key element of confidence, right? By the
Mm.
way, confidence is not the absence of doubt. It's how you manage your relationship with doubt, because we all have some doubt in our life. Even the most confident people I interviewed would tell you, no, it's not that doubt is never there. It's that I've learned to manage my relationship with it. Part of managing that relationship is learning self-acceptance. And I want you to, just to my point, I want you to think about self-acceptance on a scale, all the way from you're self-accepting and you're self-regulating, right? In a way that you're controlling your emotions and your thoughts and your behaviors about yourself, such that there's a lot of self-appreciation, self-love, self-respect. You're showing up as self-accepting. All the way on the other side of the scale is the opposite of that, which is called imposter syndrome, where you're literally not accepting yourself, who you are, how you got there, your skills and your experiences. And then on that spectrum in between, and you don't, for listeners listening, you don't have to scramble to write all this down. You can find this in a tool in the Mentally Strong Leader. But there are degradations of confidence over
Mhm.
time. You can go from self-accepting to, you start seeking approval. You start chasing approval instead of authenticity. Next degradation, you can start to compare to others, forgetting that the only comparison that matters is to who you were yesterday, whether or not you're becoming a better version of yourself. You could start to kick in with negative inner chatter. You could start to believe that you're not enough. Before you know it, you're all the way over to imposter syndrome. And it's these multiple degradations of confidence that happen naturally in a progressive fashion that gets people to, even if they have a confident muscle, they got to go back to that gym over and over again, because there's so many occasions for us to doubt ourselves, so many moments of weakness that cause us to throw the habits that we've built out the window. And that's what I find, that one of the confidence muscles, one of the ones people have to return to the most.
Does it get, so I was at an event recently, and I love this. I wrote down the degradation, right? The approval, which is so huge, right? The comparison, the inner chatter, the feeling of not enough. And I talk a lot about in my training for speakers around this imposter syndrome, right? And
Yes.
what that is. And I actually have a belief, and sometimes you need to lean into it to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, we all got it. Like I'm not alone. Like,
Yes.
cool. If I'm feeling imposter syndrome, then I must be doing something right
Yes.
because I'm striving for something, right? Um, are there certain parts of, I don't know, parts, I guess there's certain people that you've met that have super strong in one area, but then there's a weakness in another area, and it does there need to be a balance for all of them? It's like having a healthy person. You kind of want to have some sort. You don't want to have one right arm, your right arm super buff and the other arm like super weak because you've only worked on one arm. Is there an imbalance that can come from not actually working on all of them? Hey, there's no reason to learn how to own your role on your own. If you like that clip, go ahead and click right here for another one. Or if you want to watch the entire podcast, go ahead and click right here. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.